What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the B1KER Bar Podcast live stream. I love saying that every time. Episode 62, we got Archer Components on. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with them, they do a little bit of a wireless shifting thing that's a little different. So we'll get into that. But first, I want to tell you guys all hello and thanks to all you guys that are new subscribers. I did that weight loss thing over on the B1KER channel. If those of you guys aren't on the B1KER channel, go check that out. And since I've done that, there's been a boatload of new people around. So hello to all of you. Man, here we go again with that can't talk at the beginning of a podcast thing. Outside of that, dude, I checked out the download stats on the podcast itself, and we're clocking in like 5,000 a month, man. That's really sick. Thanks a lot to all you guys that are listening instead of watching it on the YouTubes or wherever else you want to watch it at, probably on some like underground darknet kind of website, something weird. But anyways, I really appreciate that. Those of you guys that are on the podcast platforms, leave me a review over there. I swing by the Apple one every once in a while and read the reviews. They're always fun to see what people have to say. So if you guys enjoy this show and you want me to keep doing it, hit the subscribe button. And if you really like it, hit the like button. And if you can't stand it at all, hit the like button twice and just roll on and then watch the video like 3 more times. Make up your mind later. Anyways, if you guys want a little bit more content, go ahead and swing by my Facebook or my Instagram. It's at BikerB1. There's always little pictures there. It's not overwhelming, and little you get little tidbits of what's going on. And if you want to know more than that, check this out. You could be a sponsor of the show by joining Patreon. For $1 a month, you can get on my Patreon. I got some coupons over there for some of the vendors some of the companies I work with. I'm in thinking about my regular day job, talking about vendors. I don't have any vendors on the B1KER Bar, but swing by there. So you could do that for $1 a month, or for $5 a month, you can get a sticker pack and really keep the beer fridge stocked. I'm working on that thing. Got emptied out on my birthday last week, and I couldn't believe it. I went in there, filled that thing up. I was like all proud. It was like top to bottom beer. And then the next day I got up and I was like, what happened? I had too many alcoholics for friends. I have to work on that. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. We got Devin here from Archer Components. How's it going, Devin?
Going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, for sure, dude. It's definitely I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. Honestly, I saw your product like I'm going to say a time frame, which like never makes sense in my like man brain, you know, and you're gonna be like, we didn't even start then. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years ago. Have you guys been around for that long?
About right. Yeah, that's about right. It's been about 3 years.
Yeah. I want to say it was like another YouTube creator or something like that had it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And at that time I was like, I don't know why I didn't reach out, but here we are. So you got a little lag going on, I think.
You know, like, I'm a little lag.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right. I'm just letting you know if it seems like there's like a weird second in between when we're talking and we're not.
All right.
So anyways, yeah, so how's it going over there?
We're good. You know, we had kind of a hair-raising couple of weeks here with that fire that was over in the Big Basin Woods. That was right next door, and we had to evac our office and get out of Scotts Valley. So that was a little bit stressful, but we're doing okay. It's still a little smoky, but you know, it seems like it's smoky up and down California right now. So
yeah, it pretty much doesn't seem like
you know, not to get too deep, too dark. Right at the start, but seeing outside of Fresno, heavy duty right now.
Man, your audio all of a sudden just like, nope, I don't want to do that anymore.
Still there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All of a sudden, I'm off.
Yeah. I think, you know, we could sit here and talk for like 15 minutes before the show, and it's like, nope, everything's fine. That's just great. And then we go ahead and hit the live button, and then it just goes to hell. That's the way things go.
What would you like to do? Should I hang out back?
I think if we start with smoke signals, it'd probably be the best place to start. I don't know.
I
I don't know.
I don't know if you can blame this on me and my technology. I think might be you this time.
You think so?
Yeah,
I don't know. Let's ask the audience. Everybody says he is not sounding good, bouncing in and out. So I don't know. We'll blame it on me. I'll take it. It's fine. Sounds like it's working again. So you were saying there's some fires, and you were saying something about Fresno?
Yeah, no. You see the creek fire down in Fresno area outside of in the Sierra foothills outside of Fresno. The creek fire just blew up over the last couple of days.
Yeah, that one did. 2020 has been like crazy, man. It is like I'm 100% sure the zombie apocalypse is happening before New Year's.
I mean, that's what Halloween's going to be, right? I mean,
so how did you guys decide that you wanted to get in the wireless game, man? I mean, I think even 3 years ago, that would have been pretty ahead of the power curve there.
Yeah, no, I wish I could lay claim to the original idea, but it's not mine. No, so I actually wasn't even living in the country for, I don't know. I just moved back about 5 years ago. I was living in Ecuador, in Quito.
Oh, right on.
Was living a totally different life. Like I didn't have a smartphone. I was teaching math at the international high school down there, hiking, climbing mountains. I had a couple of hardtails, and that was about it. And so I was way outside of the bike mentality. Like I just was completely gone. And I came back, and this was about 5 years ago. I came back, and a best friend from college, he calls me up, says, "Hey man, come over for Thanksgiving, and I want to show you something." And he shows me this prototype, and I'm like, what is that? Like, why what's the point of electronic shifting at all? Like, who cares? I didn't even know about any of the stuff, the Di2s or the ETAPs or any of that. And so it was like, kind of like, I don't get it, man. I was just driving an 86 Land Cruiser. Like, why do we need electronic shifting on a bike? Doesn't make any sense. And so, he's like, no, but this is it, man. This is the way of the future. This is how it's going to go. So he comes up with this crazy idea, builds this super rough prototype, and then calls me over and shows me. He's like, "Let's do this. Let's make this thing." I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm a teacher. Like, what are you doing? And then I got a chance to play around with it. I got kind of deeper into it. I got to try it out and see the way it actually worked, and then realized that I had been, basically for the 6 years we were in Ecuador, I was like massaging each shift point. I was really trying to use that mechanical shift as best I could. And I realized that, this is like, we could take robotics and make this so much more streamlined and easy to use and just flexible. For me as a biker, God, I ruined so many derailleurs. I've like tried to fix them by turning the little screws in the back. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know what things were. And so when he shows me this thing, I'm thinking, this could be something that allows more people to understand how this system works. Because a lot of people don't understand that the ratchet mechanism up on the handlebars is actually where all the precision lies. Right? The derailleur is dumb. Like, let's just keep those derailleurs as dumb as possible, but add some brains to it. So anyway, he
so that's what you're getting whenever you're paying for the different ones. It's like you're dropping weight in the shifter, but you're also having more precision in the shifter.
Right, and the machining tolerances are better, and so it's better material, stronger metals, things that are going to be longer lasting under load.
Yeah.
But the fact remains that you've got a long cable that's due to the factors of cable stretch, and it's going to have some degree of inaccuracy. Like you can get your 12-speed to shift most of the gears, but there's always going to be a few that are they're okay.
Yeah, right. Especially if I work on it.
Exactly my point, right?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, whenever the 1x systems came out and I was like, I can take this freaking front derailleur off. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would like have that thing like dialed for like half a ride. And then it would be screwed up, and I'd be like, you know what? I'm always in the middle chain ring anyway. I'll just get it dialed in there.
Right.
And then the other two will just be like, and I'll just deal with it.
it's gotten better for sure with the one bikes. I mean, that definitely improves quite a bit, but there's still a crap ton of bikes out there that are not one by drivetrains.
Yeah.
We get tons of folks all the time calling us up saying, "Hey, does this thing work with a 2x or 3x system?" Like, yeah, it works fine, man. Set it up however you want to set it up.
Mm-hmm. I guess you could hook that thing up to your front derailleur too, then, huh?
Yeah. We've got a couple people that are doing that. I've done some testing with that. The only thing is that with that front, you want to be able to trim it, right? So you want to be able to, like, as you move up and down your rear, you want that front to be able to stay trim. So what I did was I added a couple extra shift points along the way, so that if I was in my small in the front, I could then still kind of move it over when I needed to the big in the back. And so I was able to kind of like add just additional shift points to keep it from cross-training and not too bad. Yeah, but it's super fun, man. You can do it. You can do anything with it.
So you guys like have it set up for, you can do up to 24 gears, right? I think that's what it said on the video that I was watching.
20 different shift points, exactly.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I was like, what's he thinking, man? We're never having many gears, right? No, but whenever I heard it, that's what I said to myself. But then I thought like whenever like Microsoft started and they were like writing an operating system and they were like, man, this is way more RAM than we'll ever need. And then,
right.
3 years later, they're like, shit. Right. So I definitely can't say that that's a great idea. So so you got in at the prototype stage. At that point, did that thing look like a phone book on the back of the bike, or? Yeah,
it was pretty ugly. It was duct tape and just these, it was a mess. So Brandon had worked with a couple other electrical engineers that he'd found online and had a decent working prototype, but the module was using classic Bluetooth instead of the low energy Bluetooth. Things that we actually take for granted as like really high functioning Bluetooth. So we said, all right, well, let's start from scratch and let's build a circuit from the ground up. Let's start with the base functionality of, look, this thing has just got to shift gears, shift up, shift down, that's it. And then from there, we start building in different features and start adding in different things that people are asking for, people talking about, things that we like, things that we need. And
so your buddy, he's an electrical engineer?
No, he's a mechanical engineer. So
and you said you were a math teacher. So like, what was were you an engineer as well in school, or?
I have a degree in math, and so I did a lot of computer science and a lot of mathematics, but we work with.
So you know how to program at that point whenever he reached out to you.
Yeah,
right on.
For sure. Yeah. And Brandon and I have done a number of things together. So we go way back. We've tried to start a number of businesses. This is the first one that's actually taken hold and is going somewhere. So it's kind of fun to try a lot of times and then finally. Finally.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, believe me, man. I totally understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
Most of the time for me, it's like getting it from like actually just sitting around the campfire talking shit with my buddies to actually following through with it. That's the fun part. When I started the biker channel, it was actually a website, and I started with this idea, and honestly, if I would have ran with it, it'd probably be a much bigger YouTube channel than I am now. But like honestly, it just kind of got to a point where we kind of fizzled out. Like get these great ideas, you build a website, you do all this stuff, and then for like the next 3 years, me and my buddies would just talk about it every time we were drinking. Yeah, we should do that, man.
Yeah,
and so
such a great idea.
Yeah. And then sometimes, and one day, you whatever reason you got the motivation and it works out. That's super cool. So you guys start building this thing, and how do you go about like figuring out how to like, I don't even know how you're like, somebody make this idea into a piece of like product, like how do you do
non-trivial.
That? Right?
Non-trivial stuff right there. Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. Like if you don't have any manufacturing experience like we didn't, you stub your toes, you make a lot of mistakes along the way. And like, there's you learn a lot if you're able to. You can just like sit there and try and absorb stuff. You meet people, you network. I remember the first time we were publicly like expressing that this was something that we were trying to do was at a tech meetup here in Santa Cruz back in December of 16, I want to say. I don't know. It was a long time ago. And I'm at that thing. I do the pitch. I'm like, this is the thing that we're doing. This is amazing. It was seriously like we hadn't even assembled the first prototype of this. Like 3D printed everything. It was just a mess. And right I'm like, this is amazing. Come and buy everything. And in that pitch, I said, look, one of the things that we're trying to deal with is how do you offset the high quality, high expense of US manufacturing and low quality, but cheap as hell Chinese manufacturing? And how do we balance those two things as a California company? And and that's, it's something that we're still constantly trying to battle with. But as I'm saying that, there's a guy in the audience and he raises his hand and he's like, hey man, I'm your guy. Like, let's talk after this. And so through him, you meet the plastic molder, you meet the PCB assembler, you meet these random folks all over the place that'll help you out with this, that, or the other. And so that relationship started there. And David and I were tight as all hell for, it's been 4 years now. And he's helps me along the way with everything. It's amazing.
So you guys, this is your second model, right?
Right.
So what was the key points of difference between the first and the second one? Do you still sell the first one?
No. The first one is long gone. The first one we really stumbled in a big way with waterproofing and weatherproofing. Coming from California.
Can you say that one more time? You dropped out right when you said the key part of the sentence. You really stumbled with what?
With waterproofing and weatherproofing.
Oh, okay.
And keeping moisture out of there, and if moisture does get in there, what happens then? Those were a lot of things that we just didn't know how to do well, and so we stumbled on that in a big way. So that V1, we did a lot of changes to just the way the design is built, the way the plastic seals together, the way it keeps water out, the coating and all of this, that, and the other. But then we also were able to work with our motor manufacturer to get a higher precision and faster motor. So we were able to get the speed of shifting to be just snappier and faster and just way cleaner. So yeah, it was a really necessary move to go from V1 to the trail. And it yeah, I can't wait to do the next one. That's going to be the best part.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's the thing with creating something from scratch. I know just from doing web design, as soon as I would upload my code, I would already be thinking about what I was changing, and it would be upload that. And then it'd be something else. I have a buddy that just recently got, another YouTuber, he got a 3D printer, Trail Features, if you're listening. And he started building this like little GoPro mount to be able to put a GoPro on a rear swing arm, be able to catch some shots of like you pedaling and whatever, right?
Cool.
So, and this guy's like a tinkerer, kind of like one of those like heavily analytical type of people. And it's just instantly, it's like, oh, well, I should change it to be like this. And then it's like, well, if it breaks, I need to put breakpoints in. And it's like, well, if it does break, I should probably put in this part here and make that interchangeable. Yeah. So then I, and then it's like just right on down the rabbit hole, and it's like 600 prototypes later. And this is just like a simple mount. So I can only imagine like a wireless shifter, like just an avalanche of ideas. I can tell you, I'm actually, when you offered to send me one at first, I was like, we don't need that. You don't need to do that for us just to talk. But I'm really glad that you did, because it definitely changed my perception. And I'll tell you, I'm not like against changing things, but I'm like, also I'm lazy, so it's like, the shifter seems like it's doing all right to me. Like, let me tell you, I have Di2 on my cross bike, and I've definitely forgotten to charge that a few times. And fortunately I ride mostly in Sacramento, where it's flat as hell, so like a single speed really isn't that big of a deal. But like if I'm in Tahoe and I'm at like 10,000 feet of elevation, it's gonna be a shitty day if my derailleur stops working, I forget where the hell I was going with that, but anyways, you mentioned the speed, and that's where I was going. So there's two things that, like, to me, when I saw pictures of it, I really didn't care for the way that the remote looked, like, aesthetically. And then I felt like, those buttons are next to each other. It's like so different, like muscle memory wise, of like where I'm putting my thumb to shift gears. There was that. And then something else that I just forgot about a second ago. Then the other thing was the speed. Was like, is this going to be fast enough to like dump through gears?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when I put it on the bike, it actually looked better in person than it did like in pictures, as far as the remote, you know.
I mean, you say the same thing about me, man.
Yeah, right.
Camera.
So that was one thing. Right away, I was like, well, it actually doesn't look that bad, and not that.
That's what we're going for, man.
Right?
We don't look bad.
I apologize, but like, to me, you know what I'm saying. Like, you're used to a certain thing. No, it's all good, dude. I'll take it. I'll take that one. I'm sure it won't be the last time I say something stupid. So anyways, there was that aspect of it. And then whenever I was shifting, like, there was no like time that it took me to like ramp up to get used to shifting. Like it was like, okay, there's that button and there's that button. And you know what? The exact same thing still happened when I was climbing. I pushed that button like 16 more times to try to get one more gear higher than the Eagle, and that doesn't work. So like that like was normal. So I was like, okay. And I was, like I said initially, I was thinking that the dumping the gears was what I was worried about, like going down. And I'd say if at all there was a speed thing that I don't know if it was in my head or not. I felt like it was more going up in gears. Like when it's like, oh shit, I'm cranking down this thing, and all of a sudden there's something punchy and I'm trying to get up to like damn close to the Eagle real quick. That was the only time. So I would imagine that your next version is probably based around the speed of shifting.
Yeah, we've got a solid list in the office of, the wish list for what we're gonna do. Speed is, I mean, it's critical, right? Like that's been one of the issues that some folks have had with the product, is that they say, I need to be able to do exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Go from gear 4 to gear 1, lickety split, like, come on, let's go. And I mean, I'll concede absolutely that we are not as fast on sequential shifts, on groups of shifts. Did you have the quick shift enabled where you can like press and hold and it goes X number of gears?
Yeah, I did figure that out after the first hour or two in my garage, and it didn't come to me right away, but then I read something somewhere. I was like, oh, that's cool. But I feel like even whenever I'm on, or at least when I was riding, like when those moments would come, like my brain wouldn't say, push this in and just hold it. It would say, just hit that button like 75
match. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
So
no, I think speed's critical. Durability, longevity, like I think all of those things are the core improvements that we're trying to make on the next version. But then there's other ideas of, like, how can we link this into GPS? How can we link this into Strava? How can we have some kind of interface to easier charging, like the batteries? We love that they're non-proprietary, but we hear from people every day that they want to just charge the damn thing with a cradle or USB. And so,
yeah, it would be nice if there was just a plug on the remote and the shifter. So those of you guys that don't know how this works, we should probably take a step back.
That's a good move. That's a good move.
So,
what the hell are we talking about?
Right. So basically what we have here is like two parts. You have what they call the remote, which has the two buttons on it, which is up and down. That goes where your shifter would go. And then they have another part that's like
I got props and everything. Look at that.
So that's
the remote. See, this is the thing that Ray Robert says that doesn't look so bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad.
It doesn't look so bad, hey.
So I almost feel like you need to say that in like a Borat voice. Does not look so bad. In Kazakhstan, what is it? Kazakhstan? I don't remember the name of the city that he always says.
Anyway, so that's that.
So then there's also another little small like for those of you guys that are listening on podcasts, it's like a small rectangular box. It's probably about 5-6 inches long, and that goes on your rear swing arm right by your derailleur. So basically you have these two pieces. They're connecting via Bluetooth to shift up and down. And so the plus side to this compared to like something like Sram AXS, which is I think you have to have like XO1 for Sram AXS, if I remember correctly.
I think you can mix and EX in there too. I think that's kind of their shtick, is that they can like mix and match. It's just got to be Eagle. And
Okay. So either way, once you have already an expensive as hell drivetrain, then you have to buy like another like $600 worth of equipment or $1,600 worth of equipment. I don't know what it is. It's a lot of money. Let's just say it's 600 to call it.
The rear derailleur retails for $1,000. Or last time I checked, it was $1,000 for the rear derailleur alone.
Okay, so $1,000 for rear derailleur, and then whatever. So for some reason, I have $1,600 in my head. I'm sure somebody on the internet can correct me in the comments or something like that. That'd be great.
They will.
So, anyways, it's a lot of money on top of the already, $400 cassette and the derailleur that you got to buy already and everything else. So what they have is this system can hook up to any derailleur. I mean, I'm saying that any modern derailleur you can hook up to, and it just pulls the cable for it. So when you break that derailleur, which if you guys are mountain bikers, I'm assuming you've broken your fair share of derailleurs. When that happens, you don't need to go buy another $1,000 AXS derailleur. You can go buy another, $70 GX or whatever, and keep going. So
that's exactly like the big idea, is that, keep your mech dumb, right? Like, it doesn't need to be a brainy mech. Like, let the mech just be a stupid thing, and if it gets bent, then you can use the app to then tune it back to shifting all the gears. So even if, like, for a while I had a terribly bent hanger, I didn't even really realize that was the problem, because I would always just tune it with the app, and I would hit
that makes sense.
all the gears, and then it was only after the fact that I looked, I'm like, oh shit, that's totally off.
Right, because the way the app works is that you can go in and it shows you kind of like a picture of a cassette in a sense, and you can just say like, oh, that third one up is the one I hear clicking whenever I'm pedaling, and you just go in there and you can adjust like right and left of where the derailleur's at. So if the hanger is bent, like normally there's like 1 or 2 gears that are screwed up and everything else is fine. So what he's saying is you go in this app and you just adjust it a little bit, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll just keep going until I bang it off another rock. So I mean, I guess that's a plus too,
Yeah.
It's
so what we were talking about was batteries, and so right now, we've got these, AA size lithium-ion batteries, and these are non-proprietary. So if you need a pair, you can get them from Amazon or wherever you can find lithium-ion rechargeable batteries. And one of the reasons why we did that was so that you could carry a spare set really easily when you're going on a trip or whatever. You want to have a spare set. We didn't want to be the only source for your batteries. We don't want to have to like have folks from Malaysia asking us for batteries.
Right.
But then the downside though is that you have to take these out in order to charge. And so you're not on bike charging. And so that's one of the things that some folks have mentioned. But I don't know, man.
There's not a way to like include that charger hardware inside of your box? And
oh no, there is, absolutely. It's
just going to get more expensive or more heavy then.
Well, it's heavier and it's bigger, so you've got all of the transistors to step. Like a USB is coming in at 5 volts, and these guys in series are running at 7.4 volts. So you have to step the voltage up to 9 or 12 volts in order to charge down these two cells in series. So you've got additional componentry, you've got additional like stuff that you're just riding around with for the every 80 hours or so having to charge. It just didn't seem like that was going to be worth it. Plus, the liability of having to charge things on your bike. We made the decision to go with these batteries back when the Galaxy Note was exploding everywhere, right? And everybody's hoverboards were burning down garages.
Yeah,
and shit.
right.
We're like, scary. I don't want to be like strapped to someone's beautiful Ibis.
Right.
And then, I just burned your bike down. Sorry, man.
Right. Somebody said in the comments that the Access group said on backcountry right now $1,600. So to kind of settle the conversation there, your price point I think is like
$399.
Yeah. So that's everything that you need though, right?
Yeah, that's everything.
So, and then at that point, what kind of warranty comes with it?
So we have a 1-year manufacturer's warranty and then a 30-day just money back. Like, hey, try it out. If you don't like it, whatever, man, here's your money back.
Right on.
We're pretty loose with that. You know, we've had folks who are like, hey, it's been 45 days. I just got it. And you're like, all right, it's cool. Like,
yeah,
you know, I $400 is a huge, I'm sorry, it's a huge fucking amount of money for me. Like,
yeah, no, totally, man.
It's not like I've got a scratched stanchion on my fork. I'm like, shit, man. Like, I don't want to buy a $250 fork. Like
right.
You know, and that's like as high as I go. You know, so I don't take the $400 lightly at all. I mean, I pack every box, right? Co-founder of the company, I pack every single box. I'm the one right here that's putting all these things together. And I swear to God, man, every single time one of these things goes out, it's like, thank you for buying this. This is like an enormous gift that someone is actually saying, hey, what you've done is really, really cool. And I'm going to put $400 towards that. Like, that's huge.
Yeah. I have like a little different problem than you. I wish I had that like $400 expensive when it comes to bikes. Like I'll walk through Target and I'll be like, man, that's a nice hat. Oh, $10. Okay, man, $10. I mean, maybe if it was like 8, I would buy this. You know what? I'm going to put that down. And then later that day, I'm like laying around the couch bored and I'm like, man, I should look for something to buy on my bike. I don't even know I need something right now. Ooh, $500 for that thing. I'm in.
Tires. You need tires. I can get more tires.
Yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous, man. Like I have no problem spending money on bikes, but everything else is like, what do you mean I need to buy new shoes? I wear those every day. You know, like it's like I don't even understand me at that point. So going back to the charging thing, I agree that I think it would be nice to be able to just plug it in and not have to unscrew the little because you have like kind of like little Allen bolts that are on the back of the remote that you have to unscrew it with to get the battery out. And like I was already thinking like, oh man, I have to put it on a stand. I gotta kind of put the bike a little funky or loosen the collar up and spin it around. And then what kind of effort is it? Because I'm an idiot. I won't mark it. And then I won't know where it was before. So it'll be another like 2 rides of getting that straight again. But the one on the back on the shifter, that one actually seems pretty simple. It's like you stick a screwdriver or a nickel in there and you spin it and it slides out.
I mean,
so
you're absolutely right. So like this is a prototype of a new remote that we're building. And
oh, cool.
We're
saw it here first, guys.
We're absolutely going to USB. Like, I mean, it just for the remote, since the remote is running at 3.5 volt input voltage, we can charge it at the 5 volt USB without problems, right? There's no additional hardware. There's no stepping up the voltage. So it's pretty trivial for us to add USB to the remote. And, you know, I wish we had done it back when we did this, but we were also kind of thinking, don't charge it on the bike, don't charge it on the bike.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we went with this. So, yeah, I agree, man. I'll mark my word. Every future remote that we do is
whatever you just said. All I got was mark my
like,
words. So you're coming back in around, so you can maybe do that sentence again.
Though
right after mark my words.
Oh.
For whatever reason, your wireless is like coming in waves. It's like, hello,
I said,
in.
Mark my word. All of you are going to have USB charging.
All right, I didn't get it again.
My
but moving on.
In there,
right?
Silly.
All those kids playing their Minecraft in the house, and that's what it is. So I'll say this, the people that are commenting in the stream right now are all saying that they like that it's not a proprietary battery. Let's see if I can get that one out. That's like a 25-cent word. And people are saying keep the batteries the way it is. So I can understand what they're saying there, and what you said as well. Yeah. So somebody else here is asking this guy, his name is Archer by coincidence. He says, how does the box secure to the chainstay? Zip ties, would any movement lead to shifting inconsistencies?
Yeah, it's a good one. So we've got a couple little straps. They're polypropylene straps that'll just pop in through the shifter body and then secure it over there and slam it down. You can tighten that thing down pretty tight and then clamp it. These are also sized to fit standard zip ties. So if you don't want to buy our straps and you're okay with a zip tie, then just use a zip tie. And then the last thing, this is another like exclusive for you.
That's interesting about the zip tie thing too, because I was going to say something to you whenever I took it out of the box, and I was like, man, that's a drag. It only has like one set of the zips in case I wanted to move it to another bike or something like that. Then at that point, I'd have to reach out to you to get more of them. So if it works with the zip tie then too, that's fine. I will say that before you show that other thing, that one of your videos, I don't remember which one it was, it said something about when you're putting it on there to like zip tie it first and then use the straps to like get them locked in. And I did that when I was installing it. I felt like it made it like way easier to get it like pretty secure on there.
Yeah, for sure. So this is something that we just got these first little batch back just a couple days ago. So this is a little mount, uses the same mounting brackets, but this is sized to fit on your water bottle cage. So you can put that, if you have a spare cage, if you're putting this on a road bike or a gravel bike, you can mount that shifter anywhere you want and use the same cable and all that fun stuff. So it's an interesting little mounting option too. Yeah.
So instead of putting it on that, why would you not want to put it back there though? I mean, I would think that you would want it on the chainstay so you could keep the cable as short as possible.
If you're on like a big boost space mountain bike, like, yeah, sure, there's ample space. But if you're on a gravel bike, sometimes those stays are a little bit narrower. Some cross-country bikes have a little bit narrower pulled-in stays, and so you just don't want to like get wheel interference. Like, that's a bad idea. So
yeah. I will say when I installed it that you could see the shifter part on the chainstay like in there, like going towards the spokes, and I was like, at first I was like, holy crap, and then once I like spun my wheel, I was like, oh,
you realize,
like, there's plenty of room, but like the first glance you're like, oh my god, that's like way in there,
Yeah. The closer you bring it back to the cassette though, as that widens out, you bring it back to the cassette, and that's usually where it can fit in kind of snug.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. I ended up pulling it back to the end of the chainstay protector, that way like if the cable did or the straps were rubbing, then like didn't mess up the paint or whatever, because I really care about the paint.
But that's another reason why these things are great, is that folks that don't want to rub their paint off,
yeah, so why not like make it modular? Well, I guess that wouldn't matter then. That you could, I was thinking, oh, you'd be able to switch it, but you can't switch it because the cable is there. I was like, if you had like it zip tied to the frame, but then you could like slide it on and off or something like that.
Oh,
but
like
that doesn't
like put this on the frame and then have the
other,
yeah, you totally could do that.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense though, because you still like, it's not like you could take it off because it's still connected by the cable. So
yeah, but
it'd be easier, I guess. I don't know.
Well, what's interesting is one of our testers, he likes to ride single speed a bunch, and so but occasionally he wants gears, and so what he'll do is he's got two wheels, single speed and not, and when he goes to single speed, he just takes the whole derailleur and the shifter off the bike, and then just
that makes sense
when he's got his wheel bike on there, or his gear bike.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So
somebody asked, part of the question that he was asking though was if the thing moves, does that lead to shifting inconsistency?
Oh yeah, totally.
And like all of the precision is held in that Bowden housing that's coming from here going to your derailleur. So even if this thing is moving around, you don't lose any of the precision. It doesn't get wonky at all.
Yeah, I mean, mine's like on there, but it's not like I can, like, it has some wiggle to it, even the way that it's on there. It's not like it's on there so tight that, like, if I move it, my whole bike moves. Like, it still has some play in it. So, and I think that's partially maybe by the way that the straps are designed as well. They don't have any kind of ratchet in them, so it's not like you can, like, pull it super tight and then tighten it down. So you're kind of just getting it as tight as you can by yanking on it until you tighten up there's like bolts that hold the strap in place.
I think one of the items that we'd like to incorporate, though, is some ratcheting mechanism in the strap, and so it could really get just like clamped down there as hard as you can. Because I agree, you don't want that thing moving around. Like, that's what is it that's keeping the shifter box as big as it is? Is there, like, what could you do to make it smaller? Batteries. I mean, a lot of it's the batteries. I mean, you think about that, half of that is batteries, right? So we could definitely reduce the size of the batteries. We're looking at different ways of taking the microprocessor into a deeper sleep state so that you can have the long ride time but not have to burn as much current. You know, the moving from the first version to this version, we started out, the first version was 30 hours of runtime, and it was that was pretty good. I mean, that was like, you know, a month.
And is that hours like just actually just time that it's turned on, or does that have to do with like how long it's shifting? Or,
well, obviously it's gonna, like, the more you move that motor, it's gonna
right.
So if you're just sitting there mashing gears all day long, it's gonna run out faster.
Right.
Just shift occasionally or normally. But yeah, that's on time for sure.
Okay.
So 30 hours was the first version, and then by modifying the motor control circuit, we were able to take that motor control circuit and drop that into a deep sleep state in between shifts, and then wake it back up when it was time to shift, and then put it back down. And that lowered the power draw, like, tremendously. So that's why we've got this 80-hour runtime. And so we could take these AA size batteries and shrink them down to AAA size batteries, and we'd go back to the 30 hours of runtime. But small company, we couldn't modify the tools and do new tools to make new plastic. We didn't have the cash to do it at the time. And so we were like, all right, well, we're just going to have a really long battery life, and it's going to stay the same size. But I think shrinking the batteries is definitely worth maybe 40, 45 hours of runtime if we could get it there with the smaller battery cells.
So you can't get more, like, smaller batteries that last longer, basically. You're using, like, whatever you're using is about as good as it gets. Because, like, somehow, like, Apple's doing that all the time, right? Like, their phones keep getting, like, longer life, but smaller, right?
And I mean, so much of those phones and iPads and everything are just batteries. I mean, like, you can't really battle the chemistry. Like, you can have tighter tolerances and better manufacturing processes and this, that, and the other, but there is that upper limit of chemistry, and it just says, you know, sorry, it's just not going to discharge, or you're not going to be able to have much energy storage potential in that volume.
So, like, if you put the battery in turn,
supposed to be a bike podcast. We're talking some, like, electronic shit.
It doesn't matter, man. You can talk about whatever. Like, so, like, if you made the batteries, like, part of it, like, internal, would you be able to lose some space from the battery housing and all this and that? Then maybe you could make it smaller, but then I see. But on the other end of it, then you have to pay to, when he's saying tooling, like, you have to pay these manufacturers to build these molds that make your plastic that your product's going into, which isn't cheap. So right. So basically you want to try to keep that like, you make that decision once and try to keep it as long as you can afford. Right.
But I mean, we're committed to the fact that this candy shell here has, you know, it's got a lifetime, and as soon as we can, we're going to evolve it, because although these tools work, it's time to move on, man. It's time to grow up a little bit, you know, like, we've been doing this for 3 years. Like, it's cute. We're still in our garage.
Yeah.
Come on. What the hell?
Right. So I wanted to ask you guys about the shifter when we were talking about, or the remote, as you guys call it.
Yeah.
What was it that made you decide on the 2-button side-by-side model instead of like top and bottom, or like a rocker, or like there's a lot of different ways that you could go about this, right?
Yeah. We've got, I've got so many weird prototypes in this garage. We had a lot of different versions of this thing. We had a lot of different ways of building it. And so many of those designs were just awesome, and they worked really well, and they were beautiful, but they were not manufacturable.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of comes back to like our rookie nature when we first started this thing out, of like, how do you actually build shit? Like, if you're going to make a piece of plastic, that piece of plastic cannot just be designed in any way, shape, or form, right? There are certain ways that you have to design wall thicknesses throughout the entire structure.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be certain angles so that the part can come out of the mold. Like, there's so much to it that we had all these wonderful ideas, but they were great on a 3D printer. We could 3D print them all day long, but you could never get them actually injection molded. Or if you did, it was going to be like a ludicrously expensive tool. So we, at the time, we were in a hurry. We were like trying to get to a point where we could actually launch something out into the world. We knew that the SRAM and Shimano juggernauts were coming. So it was a time to just say, look, let's get something that can be toolable. Let's make something that's going to work. And so that's where we kind of settled down on this as, okay, this is going to work. This is going to be something that's actually going to be shiftable. It's ergonomically sane. It's not perfect. Is it the muscle memory that everybody knows and loves? No. But it provided us the path to market that we were looking for as a startup. We needed to get somewhere. We needed to get there fast because we were running out of money.
Yeah. Because in my head, I'm thinking like, man, you could still make it look like a regular shifter. It'd have 2 little buttons on it. And even though those are maybe not hitting actually flipping the switch, but they could be, mechanically pushing the button that's inside of it and, just going back to where they were supposed to be with a spring or something like that, and so that makes sense on the tooling.
Another thing that we're trying to do is to come up with new remote form factors. So this guy is still out there, and it's working well for us. It's a broken, don't mind my finger sticking through there. This is a new remote that we are building. This guy sits inside the reservoir of a TRP Hilux RS brake lever. So you've seen the DI2 climbing switches, and they've got a little insert that'll stick on the side of the gravel bike drop bar lever.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is effectively the same thing, where this little guy is going to sit right in that pocket, and so you've got a nice ergonomic place to smack your thumbs on the shift buttons. And so this is one of the remotes that we're really excited about. Last week we actually finally kicked off tooling. Right, we finally committed to the design. Like, everybody agreed that we could make this thing. It took weeks and weeks and weeks to get there. Hell, months and months and months. COVID really fucked our schedules up, man. If I may say,
pretty much did that to everybody, man.
That really fucked us up big time.
I'm sure there's a lot of people saying that.
We've got some other ideas about some like a trigger or paddle remote, something that'll be pretty cool. I can't really show any of that off yet.
No, I totally understand. I didn't expect you to, but I was just curious, what it was that, like, at the end of the day, was it like this is easiest to get tooled, and it seems like it works. And I mean, there's feedback to the buttons when you push them. They have like a good rubbery feel to the outside. So like my thumb didn't have a hard time finding the spot at all. And like, there's definitely a tactile like click to it when you hit the button. So it's not like you're pushing some electronic button and you don't know if it did anything. Like, you definitely feel the button click. So, which is good, because I'll say that some of the shifting has been like so precise and quiet that sometimes I hit it and it's like, well, did it shift? I don't know. I hit another gear and I'm like, oh yeah, it did. Because now it's really freaking easy, so like, it's definitely doing what it's made to do. Honestly, for the price compared to what the competition is, I was really impressed with the product. Like I told you on email before we even talked, like I wasn't expecting to be as impressed with it as I was once I actually had it, you know, and there's a lot of like you just start thinking about it, then you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. And like for me, like I can like dial a derailleur in. It's just like not something I want to do. You know what I mean? And then anytime it gets out of whack, I'm like, have to like retrain myself again on like which screw does what, because I haven't done it in a long time. And like the app is like so easy to adjust your gearing and set everything up, where it's like literally like when I put the thing on my bike, the only reason it took so long is because I was filming it. Like other than that, if it wasn't for me filming it, I probably would have been done in like 10 minutes. Like it really was not, there was no real big effort to it. And then it's not like you have to like worry about how you're dialing in the derailleur with like twisting the screws and stuff. I guess the if you were a person that's never done it before and you were setting up something brand new, you would have to make sure that you get the set screw put in the right place. But maybe not even, that doesn't probably even matter, because with your app, it's just not, it's not going to overshift. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, because it's not going to like, there's not extra, it's not going to, the cable tension isn't going to overpull it to where you set it to. So if you, the only way you're going to shift into the spokes is like maybe the very first time that you ever set it up, right? If you just like went out of
if you keep on mashing that button and just like keep going and keep going,
keep
going, you could do it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys got a lot going on though.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say you guys got a lot going on because you're developing this piece of hardware, but then you also have an app, a mobile app that you're having to develop as well, and that's multi-platform. So you have to, you know, be on iPhone and Android. Yeah. So I would have. And there's just two of you guys still, or are you guys bigger than that now? Or
no? So I'm really the only full-time, like this is pure focus. We've got a couple other part-time folks. We've got a couple contractors. I mean, it's a small team, and we do a lot of shit every day, man. It's kind of schizophrenic, but it's a ton of fun. I mean, like, it's fun. I'm having a good time.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome, man. I'm excited to help try to, you know, promote your brand, because like I said, it just I was really impressed with it. That's the best way that I can say it. And I can say that on Instagram, when I posted the pictures, a lot of people were interested, and even a buddy of mine was just recently like just yesterday was like, oh man, I saw a really good deal on some of the AXS stuff, and I was like, dude, hold off, man. Check out this podcast that I'm doing on Sunday, because like for the price, man, it's like so much different. And like for my buddy, it's like just like what you said, the cost of that derailleur, man. It's just that's the downside. Like I can't believe that they didn't build their system where it's modular off the derailleur, where that you could break the derailleur and then just put it back on.
Yes, exactly.
Like they. Yeah, I mean, you guys were probably like right on, sweet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Glad they didn't think of that.
Well, and the fact that you can't change it to anything but 12 speeds, and you can't individually tune gears. So like with AXS, you can trim the whole fucking cassette in and out like a virtual barrel adjuster, but you can't. If gear 7 is fucked up, you can't tune gear 7.
Oh, really? So, see, I haven't really done much research on it.
That blows me away. Like, I mean, don't tell Sram, but come on, man.
Yeah. Like I could see some guy like sitting around the table saying, well, hey, man, they break it, they got to buy another one. And I could, you know, like those are the dudes that aren't thinking like most people are going to be like, dude, it broke. I don't want to spend another $1,000 on this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the thing that's really appealing to yours is, hey, it broke. Sweet. I'll buy another derailleur. Or, hey, I'm getting another bike and it's a different derailleur and I can move to that. Or, you know what? I don't like Sram's like drivetrain anymore. I'm switching to Shimano, and it's like, it doesn't matter. You could just move right along with it. It doesn't matter at all. So,
Pull ratio,
that
longer, man. Pull ratio,
no,
needs pull ratio.
Super impressive. Super impressive so the app side, like, what are you guys like? I mean, right now it's pretty much like just set it up. Like you were saying that, would it be an idea that you guys like take some kind of measurements off of, how much the derailleur is spinning, or like how many shifts that you're doing? Like, people just like data, right?
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? So
go to the settings page and then metrics at the bottom, and you'll get an odometer. There's like a trip odometer you can reset, so you can track how many shifts you've done. You can say like, am I shifting a lot? Am I shifting not that many? It turns out most folks are shifting about 100 times per ride, if rides are about an hour and a half or so. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird when you can start to collect that kind of data, and you never thought that you would care about that, but there it is.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the interesting thing about, data is like it's a lot of it, at least for, you're not developing something, it's like meaningless, right? But it's just fun to see. I used to have this application on my computer back in the day, and it would just like calculate how far you move your mouse. And then like at the end of the year, you could be like, dude, I moved my mouse like 10 miles, and it would like it would count your keystrokes. So it'd be like, dude, I did 500 million freaking keystrokes last year, holy shit. It's just like totally worthless information, but it was so much fun. I actually was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, I wonder if there's one of those still. So anyways, I'm in for the data. That's for fun. Sure. Do you have anybody that's like,
I appreciate, I was going to say, I appreciate, the kind words. I just wanted to also say, like a lot of what you're saying is the benefits of it are on the derailleur side. And what we've actually seen is that our product gets used by a tremendous number of folks on the shifter side, folks that have arthritis or range of motion problems with their wrist, like broke a thumb or a scaphoid or whatever, and they can't shift mechanically anymore. So we have the remote that's got the nice strong click, but then we also have one that's a lot softer to press. And we get tons of folks who use those to just, that they don't have the force in their thumb. They still want to ride bikes, but they can't shift that way. Or folks that can take this thing and put it on the left-hand side, and then on the left-hand side, they're able to use their other hand. So this is actually, strangely enough, become this huge accessibility tool that a lot of folks that are riding recumbent bikes or tandems, things like that, where you've got kind of a non-traditional shifting system, and maybe your bike can't fit AXS, or your bike, you could do Di2, but it's prohibitively expensive and wires are everywhere. So this has become something that we've done prototypes for the National Ability Center and a couple other folks where we've got a remote that uses headphone jacks to plug in 2 additional big fat switches. So if you're paraplegic or quadriplegic and you can't shift with your hands, you can still, maybe you can whack that thing with your elbow when you're on your hand cycle. And so all of a sudden it opens the door to kind of however you need to ride your bike, you can ride your bike however it works. So it's just another side to it that I never even thought that was going to be part of this.
Yeah, right.
And it's amazing how many folks out there want to ride bikes. It doesn't matter that they can't walk, but they want to ride a bike, and they want to get the hell out of Dodge, and they want to go really far away and go on a hand cycle, an hand cycle. And these guys are just flying on these things. It's awesome. Right. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That totally is. One of the people in the comments was saying that it would be neat if the app could like sync to Strava and be like, hey, you were in this gear when you went up that hill.
Exactly. That's exactly what we want to do.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty cool, because then you could really talk shit. You'd be like, dude, yeah, well, I made it up, but I was in
you were in your 50? I was in my 42, pussy.
Right? Yeah, so there. That's too funny. I was going to talk to you also about the shifter. So you have this newer shifter, and it has a micro adjust. What's this micro adjust? What's that do?
So that's that is the ability to tune a shift point while you ride. So if you're riding along and one gear is just, maybe your chain's dry, or you picked up a stick or something, and one gear is not working right, or multiple gears are not working right, you shift to that gear, you press and hold the micro adjust button, and it's like this little button on the top. So it's kind of right. You're not going to hit it on accident. So you press and hold that button. The remote then goes into micro adjust mode. And in micro adjust mode, the shift buttons now are tuning that current gear position.
Oh, how long do you have to push the button on the top?
It's like, I want to say 1.5 seconds, if I remember correctly. It's you press and hold, and then the light turns orange, and it's on.
Right on.
And so it's awesome, because then you can tune that one gear. You're not messing up any of the other shift points. You're just tuning that one gear, getting it dead nuts on, and then either keep riding, and 7 seconds later micro adjust mode clears away and you're not in micro adjust anymore, or just click the button one time and you'll go back to normal shifting mode.
Oh, okay. Right on. That's really cool then. So just right there on the fly, you're like, you don't finger off that rock, and now this thing's all screwed up again. Or and like then you don't have to like stop and deal with the app or whatever. And then I don't know what you just said. I think I was over talking you. Whatever he said, I agree.
Yeah.
So the other thing that button does is it resets the remote, right?
Right. It'll turn the remote off. If that's press and hold for 5 seconds, then the remote will power itself off and then power back up.
So I did have that issue that came up for me, that at one point my remote dropped its connectivity and I didn't know what to do at that point.
Yeah.
And so essentially that if you reboot the remote, then it's fine. And you were saying that this is like something that's like a hardware issue that's coming from Bluetooth, or
I don't know where the source of the bug is. This is a bug that we've been dealing with for a number of months. We have tried, I think we've tried 7 different firmware revisions in testing, like internal testing, to just like, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's the accelerometer, maybe it's the voltage drop, maybe it's this, that, and the other. We've been trying to isolate this thing. Basically, the way the system works is that if there's a disconnection between the two units, they're supposed to sense that there's a disconnection. And then the shifter will then start to rebroadcast and say, hey, I'm willing to connect to either an app or a remote. If the remote gets disconnected, it just powers itself off. It's supposed to go into a shutdown routine, look around for someone to connect to for 30 seconds, but then power itself off because it thinks maybe the shifter got turned off.
Right.
Now, the whole design of this is based around the ability to turn the whole system off when you're done with your ride via an accelerometer. So one of the big things for us, I've got small kids, Brandon's got small kids. When you get home from a ride, you're done, right? You don't have time to dick around with your bike. So throw it in the garage and go inside and do it.
So you don't have to push the button at that point to turn it off. It turns off on its own.
Exactly. The shifter turns itself off after X number of minutes, and that's set up in the app as the auto shutdown timer. Once the shifter's off, then the remote should sense that and turn itself off. So the bug.
What's that time by default where it shuts off? So is it like
30 minutes?
Okay, so it's like longer than, hey, I'm screwing around taking some Instagrams and now I got to remember to turn it back on. Okay.
Yeah. For sure. So then the bug happens when, for some reason, the connection breaks. The shifter starts to rebroadcast and say, hey, I'm willing to connect to anybody, but the remote still thinks that it's connected. And even though we're, checking, are you connected all the time, for some reason, it doesn't get that memo. And it just stays connected and continues to send shift signals to no one. And so it doesn't go into its shutdown routine. It doesn't try and reconnect. None of those things happen.
So if you guys found the bug, do you have the ability to like push a firmware update through your app, your mobile app?
I wish we did. That's another one of those things that like kind of next version type thing. That over the air firmware updates are a tricky thing to do. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but
because if it messes up in the middle of it, you're really kind of like, it's bricked then.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to make sure it's 100% like dialed. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because that would suck.
Yeah, and like first version of a product or second version of a product, taking that kind of risk of building that functionality and not having it being perfect just seemed like difficult. So the weird thing about the bug, though, is that it's not every unit. It's like a random smattering of units will see this happen. So we were thinking possibly it's like some kind of RF interference based on geography, because folks were saying it was happening frequently on the same spot on certain trails, which were like,
oh wow.
So we're sitting out in the forest with like an RF sniffer going like, where's the signal? What's happening?
It's your tin hats on, tinfoil hats and everything, right? Like, I got it. All those guys in Roswell, man, we gotta stop sending that product down there.
Yeah. That's
tricky. Crazy. Yeah. I'm sure that's one of those things that just makes you want to like beat your head against the wall, you know, because you're like, this is like,
well, especially when it happens with like, hey man, you want to try this out? You're like, podcast reviewer, like, try this out. And they're like, hey man, this thing happened. You're like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the thing is like I said to you before the show, you know, I work for a company that is programming hardware as well. And our hardware is, you know, on the bottom of the ocean. So like I can understand. And it's not like, you guys aren't making the Bluetooth chip. It's not like you guys are in there like fabricating that. You're buying this chip from somebody, and then you're buying the board from somebody, and you're buying the buttons from somebody. And it's like one of those things, like any one of those, like let's just say there's some code that's associated with some of those things that you didn't write. Like their code could be screwed up, and you can code all day long and it's not going to fix their problem, you know? So who knows, you know, who knows what it is? Maybe there's some guy in like China that's in the Bluetooth chip factory. And like every time that he smokes a cigarette, it like screws up that chip. And that's why you got one out of every 5,000, you know, it's like, who knows what it is, you know, it could be anything. But I think the key thing is that, hey, you can power cycle the remote and it's fixed. And even whenever I sent you a message, I was like, dude, I know it's simple to fix. I just don't know what that is right now. And that was the only thing. It was like, as long as I know what that is, then it didn't change my perception at that point when it was like, oh, I can reboot it. Like if the answer was, hey, you got to bring this Allen key with you and unscrew the back of the remote and take the battery out, I would have been like, all right, I'm not going to use this thing anymore.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm going to put it on my bike that I don't go on like crazy adventure rides on, because I know the one time I forget the Allen key is the time that would happen. You know what I mean? So,
well, and that's like the hard thing about electronics, right? Is that effectively this thing is black box, right? And do you know what's going on inside? Like kind of like a rough idea. And so if something does break, I think it's a tricky thing for someone to troubleshoot and solve. And I think, you know, that's one of those stumbling blocks that a lot of folks have with adopting electronics onto their bikes, is that it's just, there's that unknown factor that they can't control. And I get that, you know, and as I mentioned to you earlier, like it's not a perfect product, right? And it's not for everybody, but it's a damn good product, and it is making a lot of folks have a lot of fun on their bike. And like I was saying here with your like accessibility and arthritis and things like that, there's a lot of folks that are using this and they love the fact that they can shift easily again. And they're like,
I have a ton of friends that spend way too much money taking their bike to the shop to get the like gearing retuned. So like for the price of like 2 times of getting their gears retuned, like basically they're in for like this, and they could definitely fix it themselves. And so I feel like the price point is like 100% like right. It's right. You know, it's not so cheap, you know, that you're like, I don't trust this. You know what I mean? And right. And like, and then on the other hand, like, but I mean, it's, you're paying for a piece of technology that's saving you in the long run, you know, or making you be able to switch from one bike to another. And I think that has value, but I like, as much as I was joking earlier about wanting to spend anything on bike stuff, like it has to make sense, you know, and that number that you're at $400 is like, that makes sense to me. You know, the $1,600 for AXS. That's just like in my head, I'm like, yeah, all right. Some dentist can buy that for now, and I'll wait until they make the GX version, 3 years from now, and I can get it for $500. Then I'll do it.
Yeah, but I still think that we have, like, even as that technology trickles down through the drivetrains, like, it's gonna, right? I still think that we still have something to give in that, there are so many millions of bikes out there that are not one by, like, there's a shit ton of them that are, but like every bike that you're going to roll off the assembly line at the Yeti factory is coming off GX and 12 speed. But there's a ton of bikes out there. And like throughout the whole COVID bike boom thing that happened over the last couple months, there were a lot of folks that were like, look, I'm dusting my bike off for the first time in a long time. It doesn't work. I can't get to the mechanic. The mechanic's got like a month-long wait to do anything. And like, are you sure this is going to work with my bike? I'm like, yes, man. The only thing we know that we don't work with is the 11-speed Alpine internal gear hub from Shimano. It's the one that we have proven that we can't work with. But other than that,
interesting.
Yeah, it's been wild, man. It's like,
I was just thinking about that. I rode. You ever rode a Z-Road?
No, but those are the ones with the pinion gearbox.
Yeah, the
right?
gearbox, and they use a grip shift. And when I rode that thing, I did not like the grip shift at all. But man, you could put your box on there, and then, I mean, it's doing the same thing. Grip shift's doing the same thing. It's just pulling the cable.
Except it's pull. So what we had to do for that, we did a little prototype with that, with actually the roll off hub is what we prototyped with, but they're largely the same.
Yeah, similar, yeah.
But so there's two cables, right? That's why they're using that modified grip shift. So they're pulling, and since we're using the mechanical advantage of that derailleur spring to give up like the upshifts, right? We're on the downshifts. So we only pull in one direction. So we had to have two shifters and then like this funky little box that you added to it, and then custom firmware. It was a mess. It worked, but it was shit.
But it would definitely be one of those things down the road that, like, hey, we can develop this as another product, or something like that. Right. Because I think at the end of the day, like, if we were rubbing like the crystal ball, I would assume that the derailleurs are going to go away. Eventually, the gearboxes are I feel like that's going to be the future, because it just doesn't make any sense. I've had this conversation 1,000 times, and it's like, it doesn't make any sense to have this like major piece of machinery hanging off the back wheel as you go through a rock garden, like to get rid of that. It just makes sense. Like, it's just a matter of the weight and everything.
Make the gearbox electronically shifted from the start. Like, you're designing something new. Why would you add a cable to it? Like, right. Or two cables and make it grip shift. Like, what the?
Yeah.
Servos exist. I mean, come on. I don't get it. I don't understand why. Maybe it's, folks are. Look, we were the kooks of the century for the first couple of years. Like, a lot of folks were like, why would you? We did not survive the pink bike comments. Let me just say it that way, right?
Yeah, right.
People told
pink bike's like Reddit, man. They'll just give it to you, right?
Electronics are stupid, right? And all of a sudden, Sram AXS comes out, right? February 6th, 2 years ago. All of a sudden, boom! There's that day, and all of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh shit, you guys, that was a great idea all along."
Yeah.
So maybe it was
everything that I said yesterday. Forget about
it. The fear of electronics maybe has driven some of those decisions, but I would think that as gearboxes become more mainstream, that they will be electronically shifted, because it just makes complete sense.
Yeah, it does. With the e-bikes too. I mean, you would feel like, hey man, you got this big ass freaking battery that when that thing stops, like, might as well just electronic everything at that point, and
that's another cool thing that we've got going. That got fucked up by COVID, but we were working on this. It's another thing that got fucked up by COVID.
Right.
Yeah, add it to the list. We've got a shifter that has no batteries, and it plugs directly into your e-bike battery.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's badass. I've got it on a Scott E-Strike back here, It is rad, man. It is so much fun. It's like you're riding a dirt bike because it's got all that torque, and we're able to just like all the power saving and like the economy mode that we put in here to get long battery life. All that's gone. We get to run it at a higher voltage, and the thing is just like snap, snap, snap in the gear.
So the servo can go a lot faster because you can put more power to it.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's under load. It just like slams into gear. It's rad.
So that's the thing that's holding you back, really. Then with the faster shifting, it's not like a different motor to pull the thing. It's really just like power consumption.
A big part of it, yeah. I mean, that's like if you told someone, "Hey, man, buy this thing. You got to charge your bike every other time."
Yeah.
Or you got
you
got to shove in your seat tube or something like.
Yeah.
No,
I hear you there. Like, so you said 30 hours earlier, so that's probably 10 rides or something like that.
Yeah, that was the first version. The ones that are coming out now, the trail is like 80 hours. This thing lasts forever.
So how do people know when to charge it?
So when you first turn it on, the little LED in front is going to give you a solid green if you're good.
So for people that are listening, the LED on the shifter.
On the shifter, yeah. So and the remote too. They both do the same thing.
Oh, okay.
When you first turn them on, if it's green, you're good. Just go for a bike ride, have fun. If it's red and solid when you first turn it on, if it's a short ride, go have fun. If you're going to be gone for like 3 hours or something, you might want to charge or change batteries. If it's red flashing when you turn it on, swap the batteries before you go. And
then can you just use any batteries, or you have to like go like down to the vape shop and get something down there? Or
you need exactly you need the vape batteries. Those things are the best ones. No, they're not alkaline. They're lithium ion rechargeable. So they're the same size as a AA battery. They're like the same profile as a normal Duracell, but
so if you bought the Duracell like rechargeable ones, those would work.
No, those are running at 3 volts. I want to say. Yeah, so these are running at 3.7 volts, so it's a higher voltage.
Is there like a little number on the side of them that you can like go on Amazon and just order them, or do you have to order them through Archer?
14500 lithium ion rechargeable batteries, and all this is in the FAQ on our website. Where we don't want to get locked into battery stuff either.
Right.
Like I've got a couple of e-bikes, and they all have their own chargers, and they're all if this one doesn't go, this one doesn't go.
Right.
Like I feel like the flexibility is so nice to have.
So people can buy the batteries from you though as well. Source. Okay,
sure.
So yeah. So it's like you can buy them from you guys, you can buy them online or wherever.
We got this handy little zipper case that you can put the batteries in, and you can put that stupid 1.5 millimeter.
You got a slot for that.
Don't worry, we fired the guy that came up with that idea. No,
yeah, right. He's out of the two of us that both still work here. That guy's gone. That's good stuff. So, how did you guys go about like, hey, we have this really cool product and we want the world to know, like, how do you, and you guys are like, you just like go outside with a sign, or you're like, I'm going to go stand in front of Pink Bikes, or like you call up all the magazines and they're like, whatever, dude. Like, how do you go?
We did it wrong in many, many ways. That's what we did. We did the wrong shit. I don't know. Like, I think the best thing that we've ever done was to hire a PR firm. That was crucial, man. Like, Scott and Nick at Symbol PR, man, I love those guys. They are, though right now, I'll just say this as an aside, the two of them are heading to Crested Butte, Colorado to go on a mountain bike media trip that I should be on, but I'm not because of COVID. This is another thing that COVID's fucked up.
Yeah. This is all bad news, man. I'm telling you.
No, so a PR firm was huge, right? Like having the ability to plug into folks who are on our team, who know everybody in the mountain bike industry. They've worked at Specialized, they worked at this, that, and the other, whatever. Having those two guys has just been crucial. But when we first launched, man, we thought we would buy some banner ads and that would be like it would just like fucking hockey stick. We would just sell a billion of them.
Right. You were like, dude, we're good, man. We'll be in the mansion in like 6 months. And like...
I'll tell you, this is a good one. This is a good one. So we sell. We're talking with Paul Haysom, Paul Punter, right? He used to work at Pink Bike in the
yeah.
And so we're talking to Paul, and he's like, yeah, man, send me over the ads that you want to launch this ad campaign with. And we're like, all right, cool. Here's the ads, and they're little banner ads. And it's like a guy riding down a mountain with like the sunset behind him or some shit like that. And Paul's like, okay, Devin, you're not selling fucking sunsets. What the fuck is this? Like,
that sounds like Paul.
Electronic shifting any derailleur. Done.
Yeah. That sounds exactly like Paul. He's a good dude.
Oh man, that was such a rookie move. It was wonderful. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So
whatever.
I think you kind of talked about this earlier, but I'll just let you expand on it. This guy is asking if there's any plans on tapping into road bike market and developing a remote for drop bar bikes.
Totally. So I think, what we've done with this remote, right? This is specifically designed for one specific brake. And the ideal would be to build a road bike shifter, remote, whatever you want to call it, that would work, universally. That would fit great on your like red Ultegra, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're always going to have all of that extraneous stuff, right? You're going to have all of the shifting mechanisms still in that hood. And so it seemed to us like we could put a Band-Aid on it and try and do something that was going to kind of work with everybody, halfway okay, kind of okay. Or we could try and really make something that works really well with a brake that is really freaking good. So that was the main focus here, was to say, look, let's build something that's going to work with those TRP brakes, which are just like solid hydraulic disc brakes. They're really, really good brakes. It's a clean look. It's a nice interface. It fits perfectly in there. It's great ergonomics. I'll tell you, trying to engineer this inside someone else's brake hood and like make it, we're hemmed in. They're not going to change their brakes, right? So we have to do something that fits inside this little cavity. We're hemmed in on 5 sides, and we can do nothing more than those 5 walls. So it was a brutal task to make this, but it works really freaking well, and it's so nice. So we're really pumped on this for the road.
The way that thing looks, though, as the way it's designed, what you're holding is like, it looks like it's pretty flat. Like you could almost just zip tie that on the side of the hood that I have on my Ultegra, and then it'd be good, right?
You don't know a lot of roadies, do you?
Yeah. Well, I'm a mountain biker that rides a road bike just so he can drink more beer. So I'm like, yeah, dude, that'd be good, man.
That's exactly right.
I'm like, yeah, it's whatever, dude. I don't even care, man.
Oh man, no way. That the stakes are so much higher. The level of acceptability on the roadside is
they won't give you that looks better than I thought. Or what did I say earlier?
It's pretty good. Yeah,
doesn't look that bad.
Nice. Like I love the fact that mountain biking is authentic, right? And I'm not saying that road biking is inauthentic, but there is a more refined aesthetic that goes with designing products for road bikes that is. It doesn't lend itself to just the bolt-on, hey, this should work kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and it is what it is, right? And so you definitely have to meet that market. I think that with the man, because I'm just thinking about like my bike, and the way that you shift though is like the shifters are integrated into the brakes. Right. So
exactly.
Yeah. It would be nice though to have some way to. Yeah, I'm gonna sit here and figure it out in like 15 seconds. I'll just give you the answer, dude. Because
so one thing we did do was we just for prototype shits and giggles, we drilled a hole in the side of this guy, put a little grommet, wired up 2 extraneous buttons, and then they were from a company called Hornet, and they like make a super loud horn. and they've got a little switch, a remote switch that's got a little rubber grommet to like wrap it around your bar. And so we use those switches. So on a you could put this guy on the flat part of your drop bar,
right?
Flat part of your drop bar, and then wire those two satellite
the leads. Yeah, okay.
And then you're just like pop, 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 and it worked pretty well. But again, it's like, is that really gonna sell in the road bike industry? And I don't think it would. Not to the level that you'd need to really kind of make it work. So possibly with another remote, we would integrate some kind of pluggable buttons or some kind of satellite remote buttons that we could use.
I don't care about the road guys. Let's hit the gravel dudes. Let's go for the gravel dudes first, man.
I agree. I mean, like, what, I don't know. I rode triathlons, and I did road biking for many years down in Cal Poly, St. Louis. And now that I've got a gravel bike, I'm like, why did I have the skinniest tires in the world? Like, this feels so much more sane to be on a slightly wider tire, a slightly beefier bike.
You know, I have flats. I have a regular. I have road wheels that I can put on my gravel bike, and then I have knobbies, right? Slicks. That's the word I was looking for. Wow. So, anyways, I have both, and every time that I put the knobbies on my gravel bike, and I go like, I'm being lazy and I'm going to do some road ride with it anyway, I'm always surprised that bike still, like, it's not like I noticed some huge difference in drag, or I'm like, I'm still going just as fast as I normally do. Why do I even bother putting the slicks on? I don't even know.
I mean, you're running like 80 PSI anyway, so you're riding on top of the bumps. Like,
right. So I don't know, man. Matter of fact, tomorrow, nope, not tomorrow. I'm not changing them because it'd be like 110 up here.
Yeah, if you're gonna ride tomorrow, you ride early tomorrow. It's gonna be hot as hell.
Actually, I'm going to Downeyville tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm contemplating taking my hardtail though. Oh man, ever since I got my hardtail, I've just been, it just, I feel like it's like a gateway drug to being a single speeder. Like, you're like, just start thinking of like really bad things that you can do. You're like, oh, I could make this even worse. Like, I already, like, immediately you start out, you're like, oh, I'm just going to take this on the chill trails. And then as soon as you start riding it, you're like, oh no, dude, I'm going straight for all the chunky
I bet I could hit
now.
that. I bet I could hit that.
Yeah. Well, then you start trying to beat your buddies in their full suspension bikes, and you're like, oh yeah, it's on now. So I've been wanting to do Downeyville with my freaking hardtail for a while now. And my lady's never been to Downeyville. And she's not as fast as me down. So I was like, well, if I took the hardtail, I'd be a little slower. I just am like,
your change will never be the same, my friend.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing that I was thinking, that and my lower back would just, by the end of that ride, it would just be like, you know what, dude, you're an idiot. So I just got a new Bronson. I actually have the same Bronson as you in the background there.
Yeah, dude, I saw that on your site. I was like,
I
could taste some bikes.
Right. And so I'm getting ready to sell that one because I bought the new one, the V3.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And I tell you, I did a review on that bike whenever it first came out, and some of the things that I said then I still feel like hold true, but now that I've spent a lot more time on it than 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it was that day, I think they did some pretty good stuff to this new one. If I was to make it short, I would say that they it's not as poppy as the one that you have. I feel like that one's like a little more playful. This one's a little more planted.
Yeah.
But man, it definitely eats the chunk up, and it climbs really good. Like, I've been beating a bunch of my climb times, and I don't know if that's like placebo, like stoked because I got a new bike day. You know what I mean? Or if it's like,
sure.
So now it's like I got a new bike and I put Archer on there. I'm like way faster. So
yeah, for sure. That's rad.
So somebody asked earlier about a weight difference. Like, what's the weight penalty? Is it similar? Like,
I think it's I want to say it's like 45 grams. We are 45 grams heavier than if you took off the mechanical shifting pod and all the routing and all that stuff, and you set that aside. We're 45 grams heavier. So you do pay a bit of a penalty, but I mean, that's not a tenth of a pound.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a whole lot of weight. I mean, there's a lot of places that you could gain weight at. I always
like
would say
belly.
like, right, exactly. Like that was always my biggest one. So I'm still working on that.
All the snacks I gotta bring on my ride, man. Like,
right. So what are you looking forward to with the company?
oh man. Gosh, I don't know. I think I'm really excited about this TRP remote. I think, you know, we're still mulling over different names for this thing right now. I think it's called, and you please laugh. Feel free to laugh at this point because the name is not set in stone, and I'm not sure about this. But the PR guys are trying to get us to call it the G1X, the gravel version of the remote.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that. Anyway,
you
I'm
call it the
excited about
G6.
this.
You got good music for it already, right? got a few picks. I think there's more than one song with the G6 in it,
right? But so yeah, I think this is super cool. I think, you know, expanding out and getting more folks to actually know that we exist. You know, I think we're still getting tons of inquiries from shops or folks all over the country that are just like, what is this? How does this even work? Like, I don't even know. So just getting more of the word out. I think that the more people kind of realize what we've got and what we are offering, I think it's going to be just super fun for us. I don't know. I can't believe that I get to do what I do. Like, it's just ridiculous that I get to play around with bikes. I get to build crazy stuff, answer very difficult questions, and like, I don't know, interact with some really interesting folks out there. It's been fun for sure.
How do you get out into like the different bike shops and stuff like that then?
You know,
I'm sorry, that's not. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we don't really have like a big sales team, right? So a lot of it is word of mouth. A lot of it is, you know, podcasts or magazine articles or whatever. Someone sees it and they say, hey, this would be cool. I wish I had time to just drive up and down California and go to every single bike shop and be like, this is it. But yeah, it's without.
Are you only direct to consumer, or do you have them in some retail places, or?
We do. We have a list of shops that are on our website. These are folks that have reached out to us and said, what is this? They've signed up to carry them in stock, or we're pretty easy with bike shops, you know, because we are small and because we're D2C. Like, we kind of have to be really flexible with bike shops too. So, yeah, any shops that are out there, anybody associated with shop, just hit us up, info@archercomponents.com, and let us know, and we can extend our wholesale pricing and get everybody get them.
Don't you have your stuff on some demo fleets too?
We were with the folks at DemoWorks for a good long time, and it was great because people were able to go check it out. But we realized that a lot of the people that were going to the DemoWorks events in California were looking for a brand new bike, and you can't get our aftermarket product on a brand new bike. So it was like kind of this disconnect between what the customer was looking for and what we were offering. So we unfortunately we don't have that relationship with those guys anymore, but it did serve a purpose for sure.
Do you guys ever go to like the trade show, not trade show, but like the fests, like the like Sedona or something like that, or probably Sea Otter? I mean, it's right there in your backyard.
That's another thing that COVID has fucked up. Exactly.
Yeah.
There it is.
Good for that.
I mean, Sea Otter's right in our backyard, so we were going to Sea Otter every year. It's unfortunate that it's not going this year, but they're doing the Sea Otter Live right now, which is pretty cool. We were at the 24-hour race at Old Pueblo. That's another thing that, like, once you go hardtail and you go single speed, the next thing you're going to do is like 24-hour races solo.
Oh, wow. Right. That makes sense.
That was mind blowing, man. That was so much fun. That was.
Yeah. Did you ride?
Yeah. We had a team of. There were 6 of us that started the team, and then 4 of us that actually kept going towards the end. But it was like a media trip, so we had gotten a bunch of journalists to come by and check out the product. We were working with the folks at Hustle Bike Labs. They've got Have you seen this the REM pedal that they have? It's like a magnetic pedal.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah, I want to say I read about that like a year or so ago.
They're
like instead of SPD, it's like magnets, right?
Yeah, it's like the neodymium magnet. So they're super, super, super powerful. And you've got a steel plate in your shoe, and it just like sucks on there, and then you kind of roll your foot off to disengage it.
Yeah.
But they're rad. So anyway, those guys and us, we both work with the same PR firm. So we had this big, 2 startups come together, and we had this big party out in the desert. And yeah, ride all night. Oh my God. Like you'd ride for an hour and a half. You take, mop yourself off, eat some food, take an hour rest, and then you get back to the start finish and do another lap. It was
so awesome. Were you doing like a relay kind of thing then?
Yeah.
Or like,
yeah. It's a relay.
That's really cool.
It's a relay. Man. And it was like the last fun thing that we got to do before COVID. It was it was February 14th, and then it all just shit fell apart.
I got to go to Sedona. That was the last thing I got to do right before we went down for that. And it was like, I think we came back from the mountain bike festival, and it was like a week or 2 after that. And it was like, that's when we all got locked down. Cause I remember thinking there was some festival in Texas mountain bike thing that got canceled right before we went to Sedona. And I was like, dude, if this gets canceled, I don't care. I'm going anyway. I'm going to still just ride bikes down there, and I'll roll the dice. I'm a gambler, right?
Yeah.
And fortunately it worked out, but man, I'm just hoping that this all like wraps up so we can, I'm pretty sure, like, what's election day? November 4th?
November 3rd.
November 3rd. I'm putting money on like by the 5th, there's like all of a sudden COVID just goes away. It's like, oh yeah, we're done with that. We can move on now.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm just hoping.
I don't know.
It's wishful thinking. We'll stick with that.
That's some wishful ass thinking.
Right. I don't know, man. Whatever it takes at this point. Oh man, I was supposed to. I know what you're saying about things getting screwed up. My daughter's 18, and she's of course hangs out with her other friends, and like one of her friends' dad just tested positive that she goes over to her house all the time. And we were supposed to be up in Tahoe riding bikes all the weekend, and instead we like had to go get a COVID test and stay quarantined until we could get our results. And this is just like, the whole time you're like, I know I don't have it, but you're waiting for those results, and you're like, I better fucking have it because I just canceled all this shit. And if I don't have damn COVID, I'm gonna be pissed. And then I was also like, well, dude, that'd be great if I had it and I'm like asymptomatic, because then I could just walk around all over the place and not be paranoid anymore. Yeah. So, but I got a negative, so there I go, losing again.
Maybe if you tried harder next time.
Right? Next time, I'm really gonna try. So, what kind of I listen to this other podcast, and I can't remember the name of it right now. I don't remember what it's called. Anyways, it's really fun to listen to. This guy talks to like all these entrepreneurs of like super big companies, and he always asks them like, what's a mistake that you made that like you wish you could change?
I think thinking that thinking that an O-ring can seal around a corner.
Yeah,
that was a fucking dumb one.
That was some of the moisture problems that you guys had.
Yeah, that first rev, man. I think had we stopped and listened to the folks that were intelligent about this stuff, and we had said, look, we were in such a rush, right? We were like, we need to get first to market. When you've got an idea like this, and you're like, okay, we know that other folks are doing something similar. We know that other electronic shit is out there. We want to be the first ones out there.
Right.
We made some mistakes in that we didn't stop and listen and say, okay, before we actually cut the steel tool, before we do that, let's stop and say, is there a better way to actually do this? There's got to be a better way. Let's just start from scratch and let's look at another option. So, I mean, that's kind of what we do now, is that when we're approaching something and we get to that next, pivotal moment, we always stop and say, wait, do we have to do it this way? Is there another way that we could do this? Because there's got to be another way that we can do this. And maybe that other way is like smarter, better, faster, cheaper, whatever the hell it is. If we're going to survive going up against like SRAM and Shimano, like what what the fuck am I thinking? I'm trying to go through
right.
ceramic mono, right? If we're going to survive, then the product's got to be rock solid, and it's got to be something that folks will trust on their bikes, and trust in us as a service-oriented, customer service-oriented company. I'll tell you what, man, there's nothing like getting an email or a call on Saturday morning, and someone who's got the thing that you just made and you sold to this person for $400, and they've got a problem.
Yeah.
There is nothing worse than that, because you know how hard it is to carve out time for a ride. You know how hard it is to like get the pass from your partner and make you got the kids and I got this and I'm gonna go for a ride. And then for the thing that you just bought to not work the way you expected it to.
Yeah.
I've gotten a number of those calls, and you just like that's a gut punch for sure.
Yeah, it sucks.
And there's nothing you can do. It's like, it's Saturday. Like I can't overnight you nothing, and I can't fix it. I can't make it better. It's something's wrong. Sorry.
Do you guys? How does the unit get tested before you guys ship them?
So we do electronic testing. We do motor control testing, just as like a general before anything's installed.
So like they come to you. Like I would assume that the factory does some kind of like QC on it, right? Or they just send them to you and then you guys QC them?
No, the motor manufacturer does a QC. The electronics fabricator does a QC. We then load our custom stuff onto it. We make sure that everything is working the way we expect it to. Then we start to assemble. We do all of the assembly here in Scotts Valley and Santa Cruz. We take all of the parts and pieces, we put them all together. So then before things are sealed up, we run through another QC process, make sure that the potentiometer is sound, that we're getting clear shift along the way. All the wires, everything's all in there. And then from there, seal it, weld it together, then do another QC round, clean it, make sure that it looks pretty and it's all assembled correctly. And then we randomly spot check by taking units out of the production line and doing submersion tests and making sure that the seals are sound, because as you imagine, once you get water into something that's got electronics in it, things can go south pretty quick. So we do randomized submersion tests to make sure that we're keeping these things clean and sealed.
I'll have to say, actually, what I said earlier about the install, the hardest part of the install was getting that freaking rubber flap on the back into that thing. Oh man, I thought I was gonna have to like dial a friend or something. I was like, what am I doing wrong here? Yeah,
that little guy. So to get the cable in, you got to put the cable in through that little wine bottle shaped hole.
Right.
You got to put this thing back on. And the funny thing is, it's like surprisingly easy if you use just a tiny bit of alcohol.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of alcohol in the
like in your mouth or like
yeah, you like take a shot and then you just say,
oh yeah, I'm sure like it's one of those things, because for you've only closed it like 5 billion times. For me I was like there's got to be a trick to this, man. And then I was like, there's no way I'm going to Google this, because I'm not going to do that. I'm going to need directions. So yeah, definitely. That was definitely the hardest part of the whole install. Other than that, everything was pretty seamless.
Yeah. A little bit of alcohol goes a long way, man.
Right on. Yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind next. Hopefully I never have to open that thing again ever.
Yeah.
So right on, man. What kind of other things are you into as far as like bicycle tech? Is there anything else that like other startups that you know of, or just things in general that you're like, man, I'm really into this e-bike thing, or what catches your attention?
Strangely enough, like the e-bikes on the city side, I think it's just so much fun. I don't know. I've been, Santa Cruz is the kind of city that you can just get around anywhere on a bike. And so we've got one of those rad power bikes, one of those cargo bikes, and just cruising with the kids on that thing is just insane, man. It's so much fun to go down to the beach, just going to the store or go and do whatever. Like every day I got to ship boxes, right? So I just load them up on top of there and then drive over to the post office. I love that. I love kids bikes, man. I think like my little guy, he's 2 and he's almost 3. and he's just ripping it on this little 14-inch Woom that's got handbrakes and rad, man. It's so fun to watch that. Like watching him go off curbs, like come on, man. Watching him skid, like fuck I love skidding.
That's super cool. That's super cool. My kids seem like they grew up too fast, man. So it happens really, really quick. You wouldn't like. Well, everybody tells you that shit whenever they're.
But I know everyone says that, but I'm like, this is like an interminable struggle right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, you know, like everybody says that, and you just, I feel like you just don't get it until it happens, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like people that, like, before you had kids, like people that didn't have kids giving you advice on how to be a parent, and you were like, you didn't have, how do you know? You know?
Yeah.
So, right on, man. Hey, dude, I really appreciate you coming on here and hanging out with me for
sure.
the last hour and 45 minutes here. And is there anything else that you want to chat about before we take off? Anything you feel like we didn't hit?
I'm sure it'll come to me as soon as we sign off.
That's usually how it goes. Wrap it all up, right? That's for sure.
No, man, it's good. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk. I mean, just I appreciate so much the customers that we have, you know, the folks that have taken this on early as early adopters. You know, we did that. I don't know if you saw the can grips. That was what you had seen. It was the can grip, right? You remember that?
Oh yeah.
We did that goofy little sale because we had all this stuff from Sea Otter that we couldn't use because Sea Otter's canceled. Right. And the number of folks that bought those things was like blew me away. I'm like, shit, I need more envelopes. Like, damn it. Right.
So you guys don't know what he's talking about. They have these like little plastic grips that basically like click onto a beer can, and then you turns your beer can into a beer mug essentially. And
need a can.
I don't know, I must have emailed you guys about something because somehow I was on your mailer list, and I got the email and I was like, I just read, like, are you the one that's writing them, or is your PR guys they're writing?
Yeah, that's me.
That's you. No, so like your sense of humor really comes out in it, and it just like the way you wrote it, it reminded me of something that I would write, you know, just sounded like somebody I'd want to hang out with, you know. I was like, dude, I need to reach out to these dudes and give them a
right on.
Like, let's chat, because it sounded like a good time, and your product, I've been thinking about it for a while. So,
and I mean, we tried to sell these things just to like kind of get them out there, and then the number of folks that were, you know, returning customers and like just the new, I was blown away at how many new folks came into the Archer tent. Right. By like doing something silly like this. But like, you know, I know $400, right? It's a lot of money. And a lot of folks are like, hey, that's really cool, but I don't have that cash, but I want to support that. And I thought it was just like, it was such a cool affirmation of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build here, to have all those folks like in it.
That's super rad, man. Right on. Hey, dude, once again, like I said, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me, for sure, man.
Yeah.
For all of you guys out there, if you enjoyed the show, hit the subscribe button. If you liked what you saw, hit the thumbs up. That always makes me happy. If you want to stop by my Teespring store, I got these stickers that I'm making. They look like election campaign year kind of stuff. So there's one like that, one like this. Got one that looks like, apparently this one here, it looks like the American flag with like a circle of stars and biker in the middle of it. And I'm assuming that somehow like some algorithm thought that maybe this was like anti-America or something like that. Because whenever I signed into Teespring after I uploaded all these, they were like, that one's under review. I was like, what's going on? Like, all right, well, apparently. And then I got this biker only takes a bike bumper sticker one here too. You can pick those all up at teespring.biker.com, or there's a link in the show more. You can go check that out over there too. So other than that, man, I really appreciate everybody out here, and you guys know that it only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one. Thanks, man.